Welcome to the Get Unbusy podcast. I'm your host, Kate Philpott, and this podcast is all about throwing your busy work out the window. You deserve to stay locked in on the parts of your business that light a fire under your hoo-ha, all right? The passion-driven freedom lifestyle, not being glued to your laptop every waking minute of the day. It's time to build a business that works for you, not one that works you into the ground. So, let's get unbusy, shall we? Hello, and welcome back to the Get Unbusy podcast. I'm your host, Kate Philpott, and this is going to be a good episode. I am joined by the lovely Megan Brewster today. So before I bring Megan on, here's a quick overview of Megan, who she is and what she does. So Megan is a branding and sales coach. So she helps you to stop overthinking and figure out how to confidently put both yourself and your business out there so that you can start making consistent sales. Hell to the yeah. She's also the host of the Overthinking Entrepreneur podcast, where she speaks about branding, sales, and mindset from one overthinker to another, and the founder of the Dynamite Entrepreneurs Facebook group, which is a business group for beginner-ish entrepreneurs who still haven't mastered making sales consistently. And Megan is one of our speakers at the Now That's a Membership Summit, which is actually happening this week as you're listening. How exciting is that? And she'll be speaking all about the strategy that she's used to increase implementation and accountability in her membership, which also added to her monthly recurring revenue. So that's going to be a juicy one. And I cannot wait to dive in. So Megan, it is fantastic to have you. Welcome to the Get Unbusy podcast.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
Yeah, the vibes are good. The sun is not out, but it's out in our hearts. How cringe. Okay, so before we dive into all the juicy stuff around, the accountability and the voice notes and productivity, can you take us back to how you got into this work? So what pulled you into the world of branding and sales and coaching overthinking entrepreneurs?
Yeah, so I'll try and be brief because I have been in this world for over 10 years now at this point, which makes me feel very old. So when I first started, I got started actually in the network marketing world, which I think a lot of people kind of dabble there of like, what is this? And I'm kind of interested in this online business thing and what's happening. And I started there, and that's where I felt frustrated because they kept trying to tell me this is the way to do it. This is it. This is how everyone does it. These are the steps. Go do this. But then they also weren't really giving me all of the steps either. So it was like they were kind of telling me what to do and it had to be this way, but they weren't really telling me what to do, and then telling me that I wasn't working hard enough, and that's why I wasn't seeing results. And I was feeling very just frustrated and overwhelmed by it. And I was like, I know I'm a hard worker. I'm not trying to say that, maybe I haven't skipped a few steps or, tried to change a few things, but like, I'm doing what you're saying and it's not working, and I'm feeling very frustrated. And so then I started looking outside the network marketing industry to learn just marketing in general. And I was like, wait a minute, why aren't they teaching us any of this? Like, this is all really important stuff that they're not teaching us how to figure out who is your ideal client. Hey, not everyone in the company should be posting the same way or doing the same things. Like they just weren't telling me that. And I got so frustrated by it that I kind of made it my mission originally to help other network marketers learn how to make it their own and to stop feeling so crazy because, it's like they're telling you what to do and you're doing it, it's not working, and then they blame you and you're like, what's going on? So, and of course, not everyone. I don't want to say everyone in that industry is like that, but it just was kind of the overall, my experience that I was having. So I started just doing live video actually on Facebook is really where I got started, just sharing what I was learning and just trying to help other people kind of find their right path. And then over time, I moved away from the network marketing industry. I transitioned into coaching. I do still work with some network marketing clients that want to do it the right way and not be those spammy, annoying people. But I also work with people who have their own thing, run their own products, their own coaching. I've kind of, at this point, I've done so many different things. I'm certainly not an expert in everything, but there's lots of different types of kind of niches that I've worked with at this point. But it was really just helping people to realize they can do this just as who they are. Now, they might need to grow a little bit. I'm not saying that you don't need to stretch yourself or grow into, maybe a better version of yourself, but I kept encountering people who felt like they had no value to offer the world. They weren't interesting. They were so boring. No one was going to care about them. Like, they were really struggling to put themselves out there. and fearing that they were not going to be enough. I think that's what a lot of it kind of came back to, was that feeling of, I'm just not going to be enough. I'm not going to be enough. Why should anyone care about me? And it really kind of became my mission to help people see what I see and what other people see, that you are enough. You have your own, maybe you're not going to be them. You're not going to do it their way, but there's your way to do it. And so that's what really kind of became my mission. And I have found that the more I became open about my struggles with overthinking every step of this journey, the more people were like, you're my person. I do the same thing. I can't believe, like, whenever I share little stories like that, I once told the story of, I used to buy stickers as a kid, and I would just keep them in a binder because I couldn't commit to sticking them on something. I would
Oh,
think it was like, but once I stick it, then it's stuck and then it's done. And
yeah.
so I had them just like in a binder, and I wouldn't stick them to things. And I was kind of embarrassed to share that story. I have never in my life gotten so many emails and comments and messages from people going, oh my gosh, I had a binder of stickers too.
Oh, that's so sweet.
So I really kind of found my people of big-hearted people who want to do this the right way and really want to help people, but also really struggle to put themselves out there and kind of struggle with the comparison. And so my mission is really just to help you see that you're awesome as you are, and the right people are going to love you and think you're the best fit for them over anyone else. But we just have to help you see that, and then help you kind of find the confidence and learn the strategies to start putting yourself out there.
I love that. I love that so much. I didn't have a binder of stickers, but there were definitely things like, like, I'm not wearing that t-shirt. It's too nice. I have to wear it the perfect time, at the perfect occasion. Like, yeah, that's so heartwarming. I love that you kind of have taken that experience, and like, do you know what I really love about that is that it doesn't take away from your level of authority. Like, you're still able to speak as the authority while having overthinking tendencies, and it's just like, it humanizes you, makes people go, oh, that's really fucking relatable, and like, that's what draws people to you. So like,
yeah, at first I was worried people were going to think I was weird, and especially when I started sharing more of my little my little overthinking tendencies throughout the years, but they either laugh at it or they relate to it, is what I'm finding. And usually in a good way. I haven't had anyone laugh in a mean way. Maybe they have privately, but not to my face, at least.
and also, if they did, they're also not your people. So
Exactly.
there you go. So you host the Overthinking Entrepreneur podcast.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this is kind of segues nicely in from what we've just spoken about, but like, overthinking can definitely sabotage productivity. Like, maybe in a productivity strategist, I'm gonna bring it up. So what would be the difference between like thoughtful strategy and just straight up self-sabotage? Like, yes, I'm gonna think about this to make it good, but also I'm not gonna think about this so much that I just put the brakes on.
Yeah.
How do you know when you've crossed that line?
It's a fine line, and I think I'm still not perfect at it by any means, but I have learned to ask myself two questions that I think help a lot. The first one is, who's really benefiting by this overthinking? Because sometimes I have found that it's my own overthinking, or like, I'm worried they're going to judge me or think it's not good enough. Like, if it's about perception of myself, I have learned to try and pump the brakes a little bit more. When it's, I think this could be better for my clients, I think this isn't as good as it could be just yet, I will let myself run with it a little more within reason. And then I also try and ask myself, when I'm kind of in that place of overthinking and just like really stuck on one specific thing, do I realistically think I could be happier with this? Do I really think this could be better? Because a lot of us who struggle with overthinking are also perfectionists, and I for sure have always been one, and it's something I've always struggled with. And I've had to have that point of, is this ever going to be perfect? Like, even if I keep going, even if I work on this for the next year, would I actually think it was better or perfect or done or ready? And if the answer to that is no, then I have to stop, and I have to just accept that it's good enough where it is. If I truly can't say, no, I think if I can work this out, that would get better. Like, if I can't justify to myself it's actually going to improve, then I have to stop.
Yeah.
So those are kind of two questions that I ask myself. I think it does depend on the situation, and it depends why you're overthinking as well. That's the other thing that I try and look into. And it's funny, I was just mapping out a podcast episode of my own about this, the reasons why you might be overthinking, why you might be procrastinating, why you might be stuck. Sometimes it's fear. Sometimes you're afraid of what's going to happen when you put this thing out there. So if you overthink it, you never finish it, and then you don't have to put it out there. So it feels safer to just tinker forever because you don't ever have to actually like put it out there into the world.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's uncertainty. I have found that sometimes when I'm uncertain about big picture details of what I'm working on, I get really stuck trying, like sometimes I'll be like, oh, I'll just make the graphic first, but I can't until I really know what the big picture is. So sometimes I have to take a step back and like make some decisions and then I can keep going. So it's sort of a combination of really getting to know yourself. And I think that's something that I've always been really passionate about. And that another thing that people sometimes were like, why is she talking so much about, I've gone down rabbit holes of personality typing and different, different ways of knowing yourself. And I think that it's, you can go down a rabbit hole and you can get stuck and you can, there's all the things that can happen. But I think the better you know yourself, the better you can build a business that's actually going to work for you. And so that is one of those things that I've really tried to get to know myself about. What are my tendencies and what are my habits and what type of things make me overthink in a bad way and what type of things make me overthink in a good way. And like the more that I really get to know myself, the easier it's gone. And I know that might not be the best, like might not be what you want to hear because it's not like, oh, I just do this, this, and this. But it's, I think that starting with those questions is a really good place. And then also just really getting to know yourself as much as you can. And that's how you're going to make the right decisions for you and not necessarily someone else.
Ooh, that is so good. And what I love too is, when you're saying like, oh, getting to know yourself, what makes me tick? What motivates me? What, like all of these things, something I want to add in there is also what really makes you tick. Because what can happen is, and I know a lot of entrepreneurs, I definitely relate to this. It's like, we're in a constant pursuit of growth. So there's always a podcast, there's always an audiobook, there's always like something that we're learning. And yes, we want to upgrade our thinking and upgrade like how we see the world and, personal growth and all this stuff. But sometimes if we haven't got the time built in to actually just sit with ourselves and figure out who we really are, like the self-discovery side of things, then all of the growth messages can kind of cloud how you actually see yourself and what you think is your original thought. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. There's so much content these days, and it's so hard to find the balance of I want to learn and I want to take in different perspectives, but not losing your own voice. And I actually just kind of went through a period of this. My son is 3 now, so I have kind of gone through the last 3 years of like almost having to relearn business because everything is so different once you have a child.
Only
and
imagine.
My time and just so many different things that I could talk about that for a whole hour. We're not going to go down that rabbit hole, but it sort of coincided with the shift in the industry and the way that people wanted to consume was changing and the type of offers they were interested in buying was changing. And I didn't realize for a little bit that it was the industry changing because at the same time, my life was changing so much that I thought things were shifting because I didn't have as much time or availability. Like there were things that kind of got blurry for me. And eventually I realized, I think I just need to shift a little bit my offers in the way that I do things because the industry is kind of shifting. And then I felt very lost and I didn't know what to do. And so I started consuming everything under the sun. What's this person doing? What's this person doing? What does their offer suite look like? And trying to find, basically what I realized is I was trying to get someone else to tell me what to do.
Yeah.
But that's just it's never going to work, right? It'd be so great if someone could just tell us what to do. Although realistically, I wouldn't even do it anyway because I would be like, no, you don't tell me what to do. So I don't even know where my head was at with that. But I was looking for someone else to give me the answer. And I finally had to take a step back and say, the answer, I need to look inside. Like, it's great to hear what's working for them and, maybe different offer structures and different things that, seem to be going well. But I need to do me. I need to quit trying to hear what they are doing and look internally. And that's when things really started shifting. And that's when I started having much bigger launches and much just like everything really turned around when I started looking internally again.
Yeah. And like a lot of people do look externally. Like I'll put my hands up and say I am such a content junkie. I've said this on the podcast before. Like, I'll discover a new podcast. I'll see that there's like 450 episodes, and I'll be like, I'll listen from the start. I'll catch all of them. Like, who do I think I am? Like, what am I doing? Great if that's what you enjoy putting into your brain. For sure. Like, taking the different perspectives, like you say. But yeah, there's definitely something to be said for like, okay, but what do I think? And like, yes, mapping a strategy to like morphing a strategy to how it's going to work for you. And like introversion, like, hell yeah, I'm an introvert too. Like, I need a business structure that doesn't require me to be super extroverted, because that's just not going to work. Like, it's just an example, but yeah. So when people try and force themselves into someone else's sales style or productivity method, it can start to just feel really heavy. So what would be your take on like finding your own way, like especially when you're building something like a membership?
Yeah. I think my first kind of rule of thumb is sell in the way that you like to be sold to. And, buy someone that you're interested in purchasing from, not like that aggressive, like I don't know if you guys have these in the UK, but in the mall for years, there were these people with hair straighteners, and I have curly hair. They would like chase me through the mall trying to straighten my hair, like show me that I needed to buy this hair straightener. And my friends thought it was so funny. And so they would try and find funny ways to like ditch me with these, like not an actual dangerous situation or anything. They would never do that. But, in a funny way, So we don't want to be that guy chasing someone through the mall with a hair straightener. But I think that when we're looking at someone who you actually would like to buy from someday, or someone that you have purchased from in the past, really looking at what did they do and what was that process like, and thinking those things, just really thinking through what do you respond positively to, because I think that's how you're going to be able to feel confident in what you're doing. You're never going to please everyone, trying to let that go. You could go, I have a Facebook group of entrepreneurs. I have at times asked, when someone follows up with you, do you want them to get right to the point or make small talk first? The answers are across the board. Even if you wanted to, you could never make everyone happy, because there's just no one,
True.
It's just not. I will say the vast majority say get right to the point, and then we can chit chat. So if anyone's wondering or overthinking how to approach that seems to be the general consensus, but it's not everyone, and you'll never find something that's everyone. So you have to instead just say, how can I feel really good and in integrity, and that the way that I'm selling and the way I'm conducting myself and the way I'm putting my business out there is something that I can feel proud of? I think that for me is always kind of the biggest starting point, because a lot of people lose that, and they're just so focused on what can I do, or how can I make sales, or I'm going to try this, or I'm going to try that. And remembering also that different sales tactics work for different personalities. One of my first mentors was very different to me. She was very like, I don't want to say aggressive, but just like blunt and like in your face and like that kind of person. And there were a few times where she would give me wording. Like there was someone who was interested and I didn't know what to say. And she's like, oh, here's what I would say. Never worked for me a single time. The person was like, what? Like they would get confused because my delivery of it just didn't suit my personality. So I think it really comes down to, again, figuring out who you are and how you can be true to yourself, and find the right people that are going to respond to that. There's a lot of people out there. Someone who responds to more of the like bro marketer style would be very irritated by my story of putting stickers in a binder. They'd be like, you're ridiculous. I'm not, like I'm not going to be their person, and I'm okay with that. So it's about, I think, first of all, accepting that you're never going to be for everyone, even if you wanted to be. So don't even like have that on your list. And then focusing on selling in a way that you feel good about, because at the end of the day, that's what matters. We can't control whether someone else buys or not. We can't control what they think. So all that you really have control of is what you think about what you're doing. So really staying true to yourself and speaking from your heart and showing up in ways that you can feel good about, and selling in ways that you like to be sold to, like I said. So, I love listening to other people's podcasts. I love listening to other people talk. I love when they will kind of naturally weave in about their offers and their clients and those kind of things. So I do that. Yeah. It speaks to me. I enjoy it. And so I do the same thing. I think some of it is looking at what other people are doing that you like and that you don't like, and then kind of deciding, what do I want to try? And then a lot of it is experimenting too, because there might be something that you think you'll like and you just don't. And there might be something that you think you'll hate and you love. And so I think it's also trying it, and trying it more than once. when people come to me and say, I tried that and it didn't work, and I'm like, okay, let's talk about what you tried. And they're like, well, I did it once 2 years ago and it wasn't very good. I didn't really know what I was doing. And I posted it at 10 p.m. on a Friday night. But I'm like, okay, I don't think
Yeah.
you really tried it. Let's give this another try and see. But it's kind of finding that balance of what feels good to me. What do I respond positively to when other people do? And then kind of one of my rule of thumbs that I always ask myself is, if the roles were reversed, what would I want them to do? Like, how would I feel in this situation? So if I'm having like a one-on-one conversation with someone and they say something to me and I'm trying to decide how I want to respond, I'll ask myself, if I was in their shoes, how would I want that coach to respond to me? How would I want, and I try and do that as well. And that's always been a really good rule of thumb for me.
Isn't it the whole point of having a business is the fact that you get to build your approach yourself? You get to, build the you into it. You get to do trial and error. If we all had jobs, like, we're not deciding this. Like, so maybe this isn't like a source of stress. Maybe this is part of the reason why we're so blessed, the fact that we even get to have this conversation of, how can I make this more me? How can I make this feel more good to me? Like, that in itself is such a blessing. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely. I totally agree. Yeah. And I think
Yeah.
it's just overwhelming, especially for overthinkers, when you look at so many different ways that other people are doing it. And then, of course, we get the well-meaning uncle or whoever that's like, you should do this, you should do that. And they don't know what the heck they're talking about. And like, there's all these people
Yeah.
telling you to do different things, and it's really hard to know who to listen to. And I totally get why it's overwhelming and why so many people are like, I don't
Yeah.
know what to do. Please just tell me. I really do get that. And I think kind of in the beginning when you're first starting, it can be okay to plug into someone else's system a little bit just to like get your feet wet and just to get things
Yeah.
going. But then I think over time, that's where you really need to take the initiative yourself and start asking yourself, do I like this? Is there a different way I'd rather be doing this? Is this working for me? Is this sustainable for
Yeah.
me? That's another thing that I think is really important, is the long term. There are certain things that work and that I could do, but I would be miserable. So you need to also find that balance of, how do I enjoy my business? How do I make sure that my business is actually fun?
Yeah, no, and you're just like sparking a big old memory for me of like way back, like right at the beginning of me trialing out even having a business. And I didn't know anything about business because, just some context, I got trained up as a personal trainer. And right at the end of the course, I found out, oh, I can't just have a job as a personal trainer. I have to be self-employed. And that was that was me finding out I have to have a business. I knew nothing about business. So I did have oh my God, the most bro coach. Like, no disrespect, great dude, couple problems, but hey, like, we're on decent terms now. But it was just like, there's, oh my God, no, that's a rabbit hole. Like, there's so much I could say on
I'm
that.
so intrigued
Not
now.
gonna do that today. Yeah, it's a whole thing. But anyway, he was very intense. So it was, the strategy was, because I didn't know anything about strategy on how to get clients, first of all, but then he was helping me build my online fitness business at the time. So how do I get online clients? I don't know. He had the strategy, which was, you're going to get all of these leads from this freebie, and you're going to call every single one of them. And
Call.
yeah, yeah, cold call all of them. Need I remind you, I am an introvert, like an intensely introverted person. So this was like a nightmare for me, but I had no idea that there was any other way. So I was like, hey, look, this is working. I did get some clients. I just hated the strategy. And even when I got clients, it was like the way I was working with them didn't work with my energy and stuff. But I didn't have the self-trust piece at that point. I think I had to go through it to get to where I'm at now, where I'm like, oh, wait, like, it can actually feel good. I can do this in a way that suits both me and the client. And it's like, yeah, anyway, that's a whole thing. But yeah, I think that needed to happen. But you build the self-trust through taking the action. Like, every single thing you do, whether you want to believe it or not, there's data in there. There's stuff to learn from that. There's the positives, what went well. Cool. How can we double down on that stuff? There's the things that didn't go well. We go, okay, how can I make sure that never happens again? Or that next time it happens, it's not as intense or it's not as hard on me, So Just a little side note on that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I had a similar, one of my first mentors tried to tell me I had to get people on the phone to close them. And I am also an introvert and a millennial, and I hate talking on the phone. It's like my least favorite thing,
Oh.
even to my friends. Like, I don't want to talk on the phone ever. And so I kept trying to like schedule these phone calls, and it was terrible. And I didn't want to get on the call, and they didn't want to get on the call. And then we got on the call, and I was not confident on the phone. I think that's another really important thing. Like, sell in a place where you feel confident, because I did not feel confident on the phone. I was only doing it because I kept being told that I had to, and I never closed anyone on the phone. And every time I kept thinking to myself, I could have closed this person 10 times through Messenger if I would have just done it my way. And so it's, that's when I eventually was like, I need to quit doing what they tell me and just do this my way. But I do think you're right that sometimes, especially for us overthinkers, that we need to go through the wrong ways in order to kind of like find the confidence and the self-trust, like you said, to say this isn't for me and this isn't working.
Yeah.
I wish we could skip it. I wish
We could skip it too. But you know what? I'm really grateful for that version of me back then who did all that, because she realized what is not going to work long term. So I think I probably at this point, I don't know where I would have ended up, like strategy wise. I don't know what I would be doing if I hadn't learned that. But like, sorry, I actually just have to explain too. It was calling all these leads, right? Cold calling these leads to book a discovery call, 2 discovery calls before I would even close them. And when they joined the program, it was like primarily calls. So my calendar was booked completely. And most of these people were in the US or in Australia. So I was getting up at all hours. I remember, oh my God, cringe at this memory. I remember I woke up for a consult, like a discovery call basically, that was scheduled for 2 a.m, my time.
No.
Like my coach was like, you said you'd do whatever it takes, so just book it when it's gonna work, right? So, and he was like threatening to drop me as a client if I didn't do it and all this stuff.
Gosh.
So I was like, I know. So at the time I was like, well, I don't know. I didn't know any better. I was like, okay, I'm going to do this call and whatever. So I woke up at 1:30 a.m. or something. and there I am on the call. She didn't show up.
I was going to ask you that. My gut, as soon as you started the story, I was like, she's not going to show up, is she?
She
I was
didn't
so scared for it past you.
I know. Bless.
Oh,
Yeah. But like, it's not like I had systems in place to remind her constantly to show up. So I don't know. Anyway, those were the early days. Here we are. But
I just want to take a minute for anyone who might be in those early days or frustrated with themselves. You can laugh at it someday, but truly, I don't think either of us would have grown into who we are today without those mistakes and without those things that happened. And you really, I have so much more of a thicker skin than when I started, and a lot of it came from those days and the mistakes and the trial and error and putting myself out there. I always like to tell people, your business is not going to outgrow you. And many people resist the personal growth side, and they don't want to do the hard, scary things, and they don't want to look internally at what might be going on and why they're not seeing the growth with themselves. And I think this is a really kind of a way that you're almost forced into it sometimes, is to try those things and to make the mistakes and be willing to make the mistakes and be willing to take the action. I think you learn so much more from the mistakes. I'm sure everyone's heard this before, but you really do. You learn more from the mistakes than overthinking and doing nothing and making the perfect decision. But it took you 6 months to make and you still haven't done anything, versus that person that, like, overthink within reason. I'm not saying magically become someone who's boom, 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 every decision immediately. That will never be me, and I'm not going to pretend that's me. And I think that's an important part of knowing who you are, is knowing, like, where can I grow, but also who am I? And like, I'm not going to change who I am at my core. So how can I learn to work within myself and within my personality? But the more that you really just try things and go through these experiences. And of course, you don't want to blindly just say yes to any old thing. And, like, there's definitely within reason of what's the right things to try, but don't beat yourself up for the mistakes, because they really help you grow. You learn so much. And depending, especially if you want to do any kind of coaching or mentoring or anything, you would be a terrible coach if you never made mistakes and if you didn't have those to pull from, right? Like you would not.
So true.
You would be awful. If your clients came to you and said, hey, what do I do here? And you said, I don't know, I'm perfect, I never made any mistakes. You would not be a helpful coach, right? So just remember that all of those are teaching you things that will help you in the future and also probably help your potential clients in the future too.
Oh my God. Yeah. So if you're listening right now, take notes. That is such a juicy point. And I do also want to talk to you, Megan, about this strategy that you use that you're speaking about in the summit. So you've literally doubled the value and revenue of your membership with less than 30 minutes a week of work. Like, what is the magic behind the voice message check-ins that make such a powerful accountability tool? Obviously, as a productivity strategist, I'm so here for this. So please hit me.
Okay, let's talk about it. So
Yeah.
I've had my membership for almost 6 years now, which seems crazy to share. And as the longer that you're in a membership, the more content you have depending on how you structure it. But when people come in, there's so much content at this point, and there's so many different directions they could go. And then my membership is also structured kind of like an all access pass where they can join pretty much everything I'm doing outside of the membership as well. And so when they come in, sometimes they're like, what do I do? Like, this is all amazing, but where do I start? Or they want to kind of binge it all and implement none. And I've totally done that. And even the same, like you find a new podcast and you're like, I'm going to listen to all these episodes. They're going to be so great. And then I'm going to forget everything that I heard because they were so great, but I listened to 12.
Yeah, I am that person joining a membership. I'm like, oh, cool. There's like 3, 4, 5 years of content here. Time to get started. Like, whoo.
Exactly. Yeah. And so they were consuming and loving, but not always implementing. And I was trying to figure out, what can I do to help them just implement more and take some of that overthinking out, because overthinking is not required to work with me, but I find many of my clients also do struggle with overthinking and love that they can talk about it with me openly. And so I had been dabbling with using voice messages and as a alternative to coaching calls, because like I said, I have a toddler, and so it's much harder to just like find that wide open space in my calendar and book calls. And so I had found that I could send little voice messages back and forth to people throughout the day when I had those little pockets of time. And I was experimenting with it instead of coaching calls, and found that I think it depends on what you're talking about, but I actually almost preferred it. We didn't have to find the time to schedule. We didn't have to sit down. And then a lot of times, say you have like an hour coaching call, you kind of rush through everything they want to cover to get it all covered. And then same thing, they leave the call and they say, that was amazing. I'm overwhelmed. Like, we covered so much. What do I do with it now? And so I was trying to figure out, what can I do to help them like get shorter check-ins that really keep them moving forward? So what I ended up creating, it was like an experiment for Black Friday. And it was this new coaching program where I check in with them on Mondays and Fridays using voice messages. And then they have the option to reach out to me on Wednesdays. If oftentimes I find on Wednesdays is like mindset stuff where they're like, okay, I'm feeling like I suck today. Can you I'm halfway through the project and now I'm questioning it all. Like, that kind of stuff really comes up on Wednesdays. But basically, every Monday and Friday, I just reach out, and on Monday, I just say, hey, what's on your plans for the week? Like, let's talk about it. Let's make a plan. It forces them to really think through, what do they want to do this week? And then we talk about it, and I can help them make that plan. I can help them brainstorm whatever it is that they need. And then on Friday, we talk again about how it went. What went well, what didn't, what do we need to change for next week? What do we need to plan for next time? Or they'll send me what they worked on, and I'll give them feedback. And I found that it's the perfect amount to really keep them moving forward, because it's not go do these 27 things and then we'll talk again. It's do this one thing and we'll talk in 2 days when you have it done. And so it's like, we're always just a few days away from a check-in, and it really keeps them moving forward. It keeps them from getting stuck and overwhelmed, and they're implementing and taking so much more action than they had before. So I loved it so much that I decided to integrate it into my membership program. So they can still join for the same price in the same way they always have, or now there's a VIP tier that is twice. So my regular membership is $97. This is $197, and they get all the membership perks, and they get this one-on-one accountability check-ins on top of it. So I reach out to them every Monday and Friday, and then they can reach out on Wednesdays. And it's been so great, because then I can say, okay, what you need to do is go into the portal and watch this training, and that's going to be what you need. Like, I can give them just what they need when they need it. And I have found so many amazing like little nuggets coming out of my mouth that are always there, but like they don't think
Yeah.
to ask the right questions, like when it's on a coaching call or
Yeah.
when it's just a general Q&A. When they're in the thick of it and when they're saying, hey, this is where I'm stuck, or this, like it's just been so great on both ends. And it hardly takes any time. And that's what I was honestly worried about in the beginning, was like, are they going to think this is worth the money when we don't spend that many overall minutes on this?
Yeah. Yeah.
But they are loving it because they're actually moving forward and seeing progress.
Yeah. And this is interesting for me as well, because a couple months ago, I started a new job that's kind of like alongside, it's not within my business, but I work for Demir and Carrie and Lifehack Tribe, of the Lifehack Method. So I'm doing accountability coaching for them,
Oh, nice.
within their program. And part of my training was to be accountability coached. And I found it really interesting. Yeah, I think I had like 2 calls over the course of a month, and then I was getting the text check-ins in between. Not voice note, but text. So similar kind of vibe, but like not getting actual. It's not like coaching in between. It's really just like, hey, did you do this thing? Kind of. Anyway, but on the receiving end of that, I was like, whoa, there is something psychological that happens here, that when you know that someone else knows that like what you're meant to be doing on a Tuesday, like you are so much more likely to do it. Like they say that accountability, like having layers of accountability worked in, increases your implementation by like, I can't remember the specifics, but like it's a big percentage. And I felt that on the receiving end, and I'm seeing that with my clients too. So I love this strategy so much. And like anywhere that you can implement more layers of accountability for your people, like you're helping them in so many ways.
Yeah.
There's probably hours, days, weeks of content in a membership, and who's to say that they're going to go to the right place, or who's to say that they're going to actually implement? They might get that dopamine hit from checking a box, that like going through all the trainings, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they're taking the action. I don't know about you, but like being in a membership, and like when there's an action at the end of a training, sometimes I'm like, yeah, I'll get to that later, but like I want to watch the next training.
Yep.
So it just really beefs up a member experience to have that accountability built in, you know?
When you know someone's going to check in with you, you're so much more likely to follow through, or to at least try. That's part of what actually inspired this idea for me. I always think back to, I took piano lessons as a kid, and I didn't necessarily practice. I did in the beginning, and then as I got older, I kind of lost interest, and I have tiny hands. I'm like a small frame person. And my teacher was like, I would never discourage you or tell you to quit, but like the honest truth is you just don't have long enough fingers to be an incredible piano player. Like you just don't, you know, like she was very kind. She did not say it in a harsh way at all, but
yeah.
I sort of, I'm not a good singer, and I always felt like if I could sing and play, I'd be more likely to keep up with it, but I just sort of fell off of it. But the last couple years, I wasn't ready to quit, but I was kind of checked out from it. And the only reason I practiced in between lessons was because I didn't want to let her down. I didn't want to get there and have her tell that I hadn't practiced at all. And so I did it.
Yeah.
And I was like, how can I take that same thing and put that into my membership? Because they know they're going to hear from me on Friday, and they know I'm going to ask, hey, did you do what you said you were going to do this week? And I really try and match my vibe to the individual clients. And so and I'm not like that, like drill sergeant person. It's just not my personality. No one comes to me. So it's not like, did you do it? If not, I'm so mad at you. Like it's not that, but
yeah.
But just knowing that I'm going to be asking if they did it makes them so much more likely to actually do it. So it's been really great.
You know what's actually really funny, that you've just like you've just sparked a memory for me. I also did piano lessons as a kid, and recently I've been having dreams. This is so funny. I've been having dreams that I'm going to my piano lesson and I didn't practice.
Oh, no.
And it's like, I'm like, I don't even know. Like I'm in the dream. This is like really literally within the last month or two, I've had this dream more than once.
That's so weird.
I know. And I'm like, there's 5 minutes until I need to leave for this piano lesson, and I'm like frantically trying to practice. It's just so funny that came up, because I never would have made that connection to accountability if you hadn't mentioned that. So
that's so funny though.
Yeah. So Megan, You are one of our speakers in the Now That's a Membership Summit this week. But other than that, yeah, where is the best place that the people can find you and stay in your world?
Well, I would love for you to check out my podcast. So it's called Overthinking Entrepreneur. So I talk through a lot of actually, the very first story I ever told on the podcast was that sticker binder story. In my first episode, I called it How I Stopped Overthinking and Launched This Podcast. And so many people reached out to me and were like, oh my gosh, that was so relatable. So they're not all tied into overthinking. It's more so that that's me, and I will often touch on my overthinking, but don't think that if you're not an overthinker that you won't get value from the podcast. But I would love for you to come check out my podcast. I release new episodes every Tuesday. And we talk about a lot of the same things I've been talking about here, the mindset side, the branding, the sales strategies, how to stay true to yourself. And I also I never thought of myself this way until people started pointing it out, but I will oftentimes say the things that other people won't. But I don't consider myself bold or spicy or any of those type of things. It's just, I don't know. I just want to tell the truth, and I want people to understand why they might not be seeing those results, why they might, be doing all the right, quote unquote, right things that someone else says and still not seeing them. So sometimes I'm very transparent about what's going on with me or what I've seen in the industry. But I would love for you to come check out my podcast, or if you are more interested in a community, I have my free Facebook group, which is called Dynamite Entrepreneurs. So dinosaurs have always kind of been a thing. They're a big part of my brand in my business. So it's Dynamite Entrepreneurs, dino like dino, like dinosaur. But you don't have to be super into dinosaurs to be in the group. They're in the graphics. I use the emoji, but it's not, other than that, it's not in your face about dinosaur stuff. But I like to say it's for beginner-ish entrepreneurs. So you don't have to have just started your business last week. But if you're still in those early stages of I'm not getting consistent clients. I don't feel like I found my groove. You're not scaling, you're still in the early stages of finding that consistent results. That's really who the community is for. So we would love to have you there as well. So those are probably the two best places. Or you can also check out my website, which is just meganbrewster.com. Get on my email list if you want to kind of be in the loop of all the latest things. Or of course, you're also welcome to come into my membership if you're looking for some support.
Fantastic. Well, I'll have all of those bits linked down in the show notes. And even just having this conversation, I feel like what a beautiful crossover, overthinking entrepreneur and productivity, because they do really tie into each other. And I think I didn't even process that before we had this conversation, but it does. Overthinking is something that can slow you down when it comes to actually executing. So yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I have a whole course on productivity for overthinkers. So we could talk about that for probably 3 other episodes. But
yeah, I will let you go. Those of you who are listening, thanks so much for listening. Megan, thank you so much for being here, and thanks for your time. This was such a juicy episode, and I feel like that 40 minutes or whatever it was just went in the blink of an eye. So
it really did. I was just like, wait, are we wrapping up already? Oh no, we are.
It felt unnatural for me to wrap it up, but I was like, hey, we're actually here. Anyway.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me. This was so much fun.
Yeah, thanks so much for coming on. And those of you listening, make sure you're subscribed if not already. Make sure you're following on Instagram at More to Life Kate, and I will chat to you very soon. See you next week. Bye. All right, gorgeous. That's a wrap on today's episode of the Get Unbusy podcast. If you got some juicy golden nuggets from this episode, I want to hear about it. So take a screenshot, share it on your Instagram stories, and tag me at More to Life Kate, because your girl wants to know. And remember, you're an absolute powerhouse. You can create the life you've been dreaming of, and I can't wait to see you pop off. Chat to you soon. Bye.